It's really a bad situation everywhere. So I'm happy that you could come, and I hope more people can join today from their homes at least. So today's class, actually, I just finished making the slides. So I was wondering on what to talk about today because I don't want to present too much stuff also, which will become beyond a point. It becomes a little bit confusing and sort of clutters the mind, and that's not what I want to do. I wanted to talk about the important concepts at a more of an introductory level. What we have seen in Dr. Mittal's classes is that he has gone into more of a technical level, whereas I have been remained more at a business level. Okay, but in your life, as you go forward, you'll find that both are important. It's not that one is important or one is less important. Both are important. So, from the first slide, we have today I'll talk about the presentation that now you all will be required to make over the next 2 3 classes. We can The modalities of that are being discussed and finalized as we speak. So, just to give you some guidance on how you have to go about it, and to quickly recap some of the concepts that we have spoken about, so that on which are I expect are required in the project also for you. That's what I have prepared this presentation around. So we have covered all these. See, we talked about the key success factors of digital transformation, and there may be more. I'm not denying that there can't be any more, but these are, in my experience, the most important ones. And we have covered all these factors. These are the ones, as we said, that impact digital transformation of enterprises, and this should provide a good clue on where to focus to achieve specialization as individuals in your careers also. Okay, because this is what provide in fact, that is why if you look at the sub content, that means what we have put in the boxes. Okay, the it is included to highlight the important topics under each success factor. And I would urge you now, or maybe whenever you have time, because this is in the interest of your own future, that you try and study these topics that we have mentioned here. These are important irrespective of the discipline or field or type of engineering course that you are doing. Okay, so I urge you to take these seriously as you prepare yourself for what I hope would be very successful careers in digital organizations. All right. Okay. So today we do not have a specific topic for coverage in today's class, as I said. Rather, we will be revisiting the factors that are essential to successful digital transformation, which is our core subject. So you'll be able to develop your project presentations from the topics that we will be revisiting today. However, I do feel, in fact, what I would suggest is that you should feel free rather to include any other aspects that have been covered in earlier classes as well, or even those that have not been covered using your own imagination and innovation. Okay, so I am just covering the topics which I think are relevant, but don't restrict yourself to that, is what I mean. So I do not want you to restrict you to also to a specific format or template. Okay, because that's not how it is going to happen in the real world. So I'm not going to present to you a template of what you have to do. I'll just talk about the topics. In fact, in the real world also, nobody gives you a template or a boilerplate in your hand and say, okay, now you fill this up. You have to think, you have to imagine, you have to create your own format, and you have to create your own approach towards solving problems, including digital transformation. So therefore, I am not a very big fan of templates. So I'm not providing a template here. Okay. All I'm providing are some common guidelines that you may choose to take advantage of, not only in building your project presentation, but in your future careers as well. So don't restrict it only from the point of view of your of what you are going to present over the next couple of weeks. Okay, but think of it as how it can help you throughout your career, because that is the whole purpose. Unlike your other subjects, which are important, I'm not denying their importance, but this is more oriented towards the work that you'll be doing post your education. Okay, so therefore, think of it from a longer term perspective. Okay, so let's begin. So constructing the digital enterprise, the keyword here is constructing, and I carefully used that term. So because a digital transformation is a complete revamp. Complete revamp. Revamp means transformation of the enterprise. It is like building a new house where an old one was earlier standing. Okay, suppose I have to break my house and build a new one. It would be like a transformation. So it is like that. So where, or I can build it where nothing else existed here. For example, if you are a startup or something. But in any case, it is a transformation, and therefore I'm using the word constructed here in reference to a digital enterprise, because just like we have for a house or any other project that we start from scratch. Okay, this is like constructing something. So if you remember it as that, digital transformation means something to be constructed. And when you have construction, you have building blocks. Like for example, for constructing a house, you need brick, mortar, cement, and all those other stuff that goes into building a house. Similarly, there are building blocks for digital transformation also. So if you are a consultant or a team member of a digital transformation project, you are expected to demonstrate innovation in each of the building blocks. Okay, let me show you the building blocks of the digital enterprise, which are shown here on this slide. Now, if you look at the left of the slide, there are some random boxes. Okay, so which is the current state of an enterprise. And on the right, you see how everything comes together, how those building blocks fit together to give you a sort of a whole or a full artifact, which is a lot more than the sum of its parts, as I have written there. So these building, okay, now let us just, there are six critical building blocks. Now, by the way, building blocks is different than a success factor. Success factor is the outcome. A building block is what goes in to build a successful digital enterprise. And when you do your project, you have to focus on building blocks. How, okay, and as we will find that most of these building blocks we have discussed in our earlier classes, and I will quickly revisit some of these boxes. I have given an explanation. I will be sharing this presentation with you so that it helps you in structuring your own presentation. So just kindly mute. Unless you're asking a question to me, I would request you to kindly mute. So these building blocks, I'm saying, so digital enterprise, we already discussed in several of our other classes that a digital enterprise is the end goal of a digital transformation. That's what I have written here in the first bullet. Now, there are building blocks, as I just said. Now, these building blocks here are generalized. For example, when we talk about the mission building block, I mean everything related to the mission, which could be the vision, the strategy, the strategic objectives. So, as you have seen, the vision and mission includes strategy and KSOs. The organization framework, I'll talk about this more just to recap and refresh your memory, consists of what is internal to the company. Okay, which is the people, its culture, the alignment between its functions, particularly between business and technology, the processes. These are internal to an organization. The outside world does not see it. For example, if you're doing business with a company like, let's say, Airbnb, okay, you don't see what is their culture or how much alignment they have or what are their internal processes and what they use. All you see is the user interface or the customer experience aspect of it. Then technology, of course, partnerships, data and information, customers and markets. So in fact, all these constituents have been discussed in the earlier classes. It's now only a matter of, and this is very important, it's a matter of piecing them together in the best possible way. Okay, this is critically important. In fact, I remember an American proverb, which I can repeat here, that the only difference between a stumbling block means a stone which comes in your way and over which you can trip and fall. Okay, it's a big rock kind of a thing. So the only difference between a stumbling block and a stepping stone is the way you use them. Okay, the same stumbling block can be also used as a stepping stone, and that's what applies here also. These are building blocks. You can use it to build a company, you can use it to destroy a company. Okay, so it's the same with these building blocks. That is, depending on how they are used, the building blocks can be an impediment, means something that comes in the way, or it can be an impetus to the evolution of the, or and rather growth of the digital enterprise. So it is all a matter of how these building blocks are used. Not everybody uses them in the same way. For everyone, the building blocks are the same. Every digital enterprise is built of these building blocks, but the way these building blocks are used, what are the inner components of each building block, that can differ from company to company, and that is what makes each company different from another. So which is, in fact, and that is the reason that even though every company uses the same set of building blocks, some enterprises make it big in the world while others struggle. Okay, so the differences in how they have used these building blocks. So that's why I wanted for your presentations also to be aware of what are the building blocks of digital transformation and how it is important to use them in the right way to build an enterprise that is destined to future success. All right. I hope that so far whatever we have said makes sense. If you want to ask me any questions in your own interest, please feel free. I'm some of them, in fact, most of the concepts I'm talking about, there's nothing new. We have talked about it in our earlier classes. Now, what I'm going to do in the remaining part of the presentation is that I'm going to briefly touch upon each of these six building blocks. Okay, so, and you can relate it in your mind when you make your presentation, how you can sort of include it, or it's not compulsory that you have to include all the building blocks. It's up to you. It's totally a flexible thing. I'm just giving this to you as a guidance. So let's start with the mission. So the company's okay. Before mission, let me just redefine this. We also talked about vision. So the company's vision defines a. I'm sure a lot of you remember I had used this term. That a company's vision defines an image of its future. Just a sort of an imagination. It's like a dream. A vision is like a dream. So it's an image of the future, while its mission states the purpose for which it exists. Okay. So let's look at these four bullet points. These are important. So that's why I've repeated them, though we have said about it, talked about it before. The digital transformation missions define the purpose of the digital enterprise. I'm sure that's clear. Second, the mission is the basis of the digital strategy or the key strategic objectives decided by the enterprise. So your objectives or the strategy that you decide, whether it is for a presentation or in real life, it should be sort of telescopically delve into the mission. That means it should be derived from the mission. It cannot be different from the mission. The organization framework, that is the internal, what is internal to the organization, the processes, skills, structure, is also derived from the strategy, and strategy in turn is derived from the mission, as we see here. Hence, the mission guides the enterprise's transformation journey through all its milestones. So it's clear from this that the mission defines the strategy defines the processes, the capabilities, and the structure of the organization, which is why the mission is very important in guiding the enterprise's transformation, digital transformation, or any other kind of transformation through all the milestones that it has set for itself. Of course, the external milestones depend on the mission because that's what defines your external purpose, but also the internal ones. Now, just to help you along the way, let me give you an example of the anything that I'm missing here. Okay, so what we had also said earlier, I'm just trying to recall that the mission is also a sort of a rudder. I don't know if you all of you know what's a rudder. A rudder is like a plane or a boat, or is what gives direction. Okay, so without a mission, the company would be totally rudderless. So do not underestimate the need for a mission. Some companies start off into business without stating a clear mission. So those companies are directionless companies, and mission basically is required to ensure that the company is moving as a kind of a unified force. That means everybody is together in the desired direction, not aimlessly. So please understand why the mission is so critical. It may have distinct strategies for its various parts or various functions in the organization, but they're all directed towards accompanying the company's common mission. The strategy of the organization can be different for each function, but ultimately they all converge into one, which defines the overall common mission of the organization. Mission is always one for the company. The strategies could be different. That's the point I'm trying to make. Okay, now let's look at some examples of the mission statement. Again, just to repeat, read the top four bullet points. They are important. That the mission is the purpose, and it is from the mission you derive the strategy. From the strategy you derive the organization framework. These are some examples, some very simple examples, but don't restrict yourself to this. There can be hundreds of other examples of missions of successful companies, like to offer advanced security solutions at affordable price while leading the way for socially conscious business. Okay, now how do you translate this into a strategy? Once you have created a strategy, that means key strategic objective, then what should be your processes? What kind of skills do you need? What kind of a structure do you need in the organization? Is all guided by this mission. Or second one is to accelerate the world's transition to a greener planet by offering sustainable energy solutions to meet the needs of two-wheeler riders. Some sustainable energy solution for two-wheelers. That's a simple example I took. Okay, if that's a sort of a company, let's say you want to set up to, especially in a market like India where there are so many two-wheelers, that you want to reduce the pollution and provide a more greener solution for two-wheelers. So this could be, for example, your mission. Or to become a leading name in the world of air travel. For an airline company, this could be a mission by being the top preference of customers and shareholders all over the world. So there could be many examples. So mission essentially is the purpose, and from the mission you derive the strategy and organization framework. That's the key thing to remember. Okay. So as I said, it is nothing that we have not spoken about earlier, but I'm just trying to put everything in the proper sort of context. Now let's talk about organization framework. So the organization framework, as I said, is internal to the enterprise and describes the way it manages its internal functioning, okay, to achieve its business objectives. So let's for a moment, when we talk about organization framework, forget about the market and digital marketing and all the other aspects of market growth and pricing and all that. Just focus on the internal part of the organization. So the organization structure and processes, these are the two very most primary constituents. When I say structure, I mean the people, the way people are organized, and the kind of skills and competencies that people bring to the table. Okay, and both the structure and the processes play a very critical role in the success of the digital transformation project, as we have already seen. Now, the digital transformation project therefore must consider changes to existing structure, the skills and the processes to achieve its digital transformation goals. So a lot of times most companies focus only on the external factors about the market, customers, B2B, B2C, but they should also equally focus. When you are transforming, you're not only transforming what the customer sees, you are also transforming what the internal mechanics of the company. So I'm not going into all the aspects that we have covered, but would just like to stress that in a digital enterprise, the capabilities, you would probably be working in a digital enterprise. So you're not only your capabilities are not defined just by the skill set, but also by the attitude that an individual brings to the table. Okay, that's why we have this. So the right capabilities exist, or what is called talent exists at the intersection of the right attitude and the right skill sets. This is important to remember. Okay, you cannot have just people who are technically very good but lack the right customer facing attitude, or who have excellent attitude but do not have the right technical skills. So that is it used to work before the digital era, but now in digital organizations it is the intersection of the skills that is what defines the sort of the people part of the organization framework. Similarly, if you look at the process framework, the process framework is influenced not just by business processes, which I have written here on the right side. Okay, but not by the just by the business processes, but also by the internal focus on business technology alignment, which we spoke about, and external focus on instinctual connect. So this instinctual connect, external focus, you can only have when you have people who have an attitude towards connecting with people, who have good interpersonal skills, who can empathize with people. There are a lot of those qualities of instinctual connect, which I have written in the center of the box, center of the circle. So those are the way that, so the whole process framework of a digital enterprise consists of is a confluence of business IT alignment, your business processes, and instinctual connect, all of which we have touched upon in the past. I'm just trying to put this in context. Now, one thing which I think we did not talk about earlier, but it is important to remember, especially from the context of actual digital transformation, or even from the point of view of your project, it is that it is also important to identify the potential bottlenecks. Up to now, we are assuming that everything will happen just like we wish it to be, or just like we have dreamed. But that's not the real world, right? So there are always bottlenecks. And what are these bottlenecks? If you go to any company today, most companies that I have worked with, either as an employee or as a consultant or as a customer or as whatever, okay, and I have found there are certain things which companies suffer from, like for example, rigid protocols, or too much hierarchy, or restrictive practices like not allowing internet use to employees. A lot of companies today, they say, okay, personal internet use is not allowed. You cannot check your personal mail while you're in office. They do not allow you to use your own devices in the office. There are companies like that. Not all companies, but many companies have that. Okay, or for example, they have draconian policies like you have to come to work, you have to log in, punch in your in time and things like that. Inflexible approaches, of closed door policies, or not allowing innovation. That means they want you to just be an instruction follower and not dare to try any new things. So those are the kind of restrictive practices which sort of bring kind of toxicity to the whole environment. And these are the ones that hamper the digital transformation drive. So if you look at an organization from a context of an organization framework, what you expect from an organization framework is commitment, alignment, empowerment, development of the people, individuals, achievement orientation. So there's a lot of potential that we will have for doing all that. However, because of the inhibitors, that's a center circle that I have drawn, the inhibitors, the actualized part of all these outcomes is very small. So one of the focus should be also to identify what are the inhibitors and how can you remove those bottlenecks in order to achieve both objectives, the personal growth of individuals as well as organizational growth of the digital enterprise, right? So this is an important thing that one has to be conscious of, that while it is good to have a plan and good to have a strategy, but it is not good to to not plan for any bottlenecks or restrictions. In fact, too many organizations have failed not because they did not adopt good practices, but because they did not let go of the bad practices. Okay, which have no place in a digital enterprise. So remember to identify the bad practices and get rid of them. That is what spells success for a digital organization. All right, so I'm moving on. And most of the concepts here, not everything, but most of the concepts that I'm talking about today, and that is intentionally and consciously, are things that I want to revisit from the perspective of doing a digital transformation case study. Okay, now let's talk about technology. Again, we have talked about most of it, so I'll just spend probably a minute or two here. So we have discussed earlier that before the digital era, the primary drivers of what shall I say, technological growth were what? There were two. One was Moore's law, and one was Nielsen's law. Moore's law pertained to computing architecture, and Nielsen's law pertained to network bandwidth or communication bandwidth. Right. So these were the primary two drivers of technological change. So thus the computing power, which means compressing more and more power into microprocessors or network bandwidth, both wireless and wireline, determined the advancement of the enterprise, at least on the technological front, right? That how are you, which companies are using the most advanced microprocessor or computers based on the most advanced microprocessors, or how well they are connected, or what kind of a data network or internal network they have. Okay, these were the primary drivers before the digital era. But in the new era that we see now, while these two, that is Moore's law and Nielsen's law, continue to play an important role, there are two more critical drivers, which are what? The software and the next wave IT. If you remember, we defined next wave IT as social, cloud, mobility, and analytics, or the SMAC technologies, plus any other new technologies that are coming. We gave it a collective name of next wave IT. So these were added to the technology stack, and together they kind of ushered the digital age and enabled the appearance or the advent of the digital enterprise, right? So basically the digital enterprise, broadly speaking, has four technology components on the at the highest level. This is the technology stack that digital enterprise follows, okay, which consists of these four critical drivers: the network, the computing architecture, the software, and the next wave IT, or the SMAC, right? So this is important to remember. I was just revisiting it. So the technology framework is, I mean, I don't want to go into the details again unless somebody has a question about it, about how the data network is required, because all the components of a technology network are not localized, right? I may have one server here, I may have the backup server in Singapore or in Russia. Okay, so virtually my network can be shown as part of or one sort of layer of the stack, but actually at a physical plane, it is distributed or in several locations. So it is not a non-localized thing. So a data network helps in terms of virtualizing the different components of a network into making it one small self-contained network. Okay, plus it enables mobility, it enables connectivity. So those are advantages which we have touched upon earlier. I'm not going, but it is suffice it to say that these are the four critical elements that are driving the technological evolution in the digital age. Maybe a year from now, or a decade from now, or 2 decades from now, I don't know, maybe there will be more elements, something more that will come. And maybe when you are in my position to be able to talk to youngsters about the evolution of technology, you will add that and talk about that also. But at the moment, most of the technology that we see around us fits into one of these, right? So this is nothing new that I said. So, but just before I move, I want to re-stress one more point, that technology transformation is a very sort of critical, I would even use the word indispensable, part of any digital transformation project, because this is almost always included in the key strategic objectives. You may transform your business model or not transform your business model. You may transform your processes or not transform them so much, but almost always any digital company that I have seen which is undergoing transformation does have some element of technology transformation. So therefore it is important to have some grip, especially for you all who are technology students and technology graduates soon to be, that you have a grip on the technology framework for digital enterprise. All right. Okay, the other building block that we showed in the first slide was partnerships. Now, this is not difficult, but still, I'm just briefly going to touch upon it. So, the digital enterprise is not a closed unit in itself, but depends as much on the external world as upon its internal technologies or processes or culture and organization. So, when we talked about the organization framework, we looked at the internal aspects of the enterprise. This is looking at the external aspects of the enterprise. By the way, though, this title is called, the title of this slide is partnerships, but it is more than just partnerships. Basically, it means the external world. Okay, a lot of it is, of course, partnerships, but there are other things also which completely make up what is known as the extended digital enterprise. So here I am revisiting not the internal, but the external pillars on which digital enterprise is supported. And as we discussed earlier, those four external pillars are technology, partnerships, external environment, and markets and consumers. So partnerships with external service, technology, product, and sales organization are a critical part of the digital enterprise, and they must be factored into the transformation goals. Because there are very few, I can't offhand think of any digital enterprise which has completely succeeded in its market without a partnership. Okay, even a company like Uber, they have partnerships with taxi car owners or drivers, and those are all their extended part of their enterprise. So they are sort of enterprises. Companies like Amazon and all, of course, they depend on partnerships for logistics, for say, for their storefronts, and so many other things. Okay, so partnerships are a critical element. Equally importantly, the digital enterprise must continually assess its external environment, which I've shown on the right, which consists of competitors, regulators, and other, what shall I say, influencers to stay on the right track. Ignoring these would bring disaster to even the best managed digital enterprise. Do not ignore this external environment, like what is the regulation, what are the governmental policies, what is your competition doing, and other such aspects are very critical, but often ignored. So here in this diagram, I've tried to show all the critical external constituents of the extended digital enterprise. And all of these are typically needed to be factored in the transformation initiative. Okay. But for your project, you may consider the ones that you think are most critical for your mission. I'm not saying that all of this you have to factor in, but you should be aware that these are the external factors. So when you, if and when you do want to factor in some of these, you can take a quick peek at this slide. And as I said in the beginning, don't restrict yourself to this. This is a quick slide that has been prepared, taking some very common and commonly used aspects or elements that are external elements, but there could be more. Okay, so feel free, but this is just, as I said, as a guideline. Now, one of the things which we have not touched upon so far, or we have touched upon, but in a more sort of an oblique way, not directly, is data and information. But as we said, data and information forms a very critical building block of a digital enterprise. Without this focus, there is no way you can build a successful digital enterprise or achieve success in a digital transformation project. Now, so probably I'll spend about 4 or 5 minutes on this slide just to revisit some of these and to re-emphasize the importance of some of these layers. So as I said, no digital enterprise can hope to become successful without managing its data as a business asset. Okay, now that is one of the key things for a digital enterprise. A digital enterprise manages its data as a business asset. So far, most companies collected a lot of data, but they never managed it or tended to use it in future. But today, data is recognized as a business asset. Digital technologies like big data have effectively helped enterprises to assess huge data volumes pertaining to customer interactions, for example, and define systems to, how shall I say, define systems to measure the experience parameters like sentiments, etc., at different stages of the customer's life cycle. Okay. And why is this required? Because this then helps, because you can then correlate the different data points that you collect on the customer data that you have collected to deliver personalized support. Okay, how do I know? How does my sort of somebody, whoever is managing, providing me a digital service, how do they know that I am fond of Chinese food, for example? So that they can sort of send me offers on which restaurant or where is the best Chinese food and where is a good scheme going on for Chinese food, or from where can I order Chinese food at home. So they have to know my preferences, and the only way to know somebody's preferences, okay, or to know where I am at a specific moment in time, is to be able to use your data and be able to correlate different data points into understanding my sentiments and preferences, and then be able to personalize their offers or campaigns according to my tastes. That is very important. No, every digital company, there's no digital transformation which is complete without that. Okay, so this is critical for digital transformation also, and no enterprise can become a successful digital enterprise without this ability to personalize their products to suit their individual or individual customer preferences. I hope it is making sense. I'm speaking a bit fast because many of these concepts we have already talked about before. Okay, now a digital enterprise. Now let's quickly look at these four layers. These are important because we have not touched upon them specifically. We may have talked about them in different contexts. So let me just put it all in a clear context. So a digital enterprise achieves maturity in its data management in steps. Okay, not, you don't reach very mature data management enterprise status in a flash. You do it in steps, just as we discussed for, if you remember, we discussed for individual skill building in digital enterprises. Individual skills start at one level, and then you go up the corporate ladder till you achieve unique human skills and all. I'm sure many of you would remember that we had talked about. It is the same with enterprise data management. Okay, so because data is also in a way one of your assets, just like skills are. So, oh, sorry, I'm sorry. So the first step is to collect data at the bottommost layer. The first step is to collect data. The key difference in digital enterprises is that data is collected in all forms. Okay, it's not that I can only collect data in the form of an Excel sheet. No, data is collected in all forms. It can be paper based, it can be structured, it can be a database, it can be a spreadsheet, it can be unstructured, it can be social media, it can be video or any other form. Okay, basically the important thing is to collect data. No data can be ignored. That is the first rule of a digital organization. The important thing is to extract data in all forms and then transform it. For example, if I have collected a slip of paper in which somebody has written some invoice numbers, I mean, it is useless to a computer, right? So in some way, it has to be transformed into a machine readable format. Okay, so that is, so data has to be extracted from its current source and then transformed to a machine readable form. Okay, so it is still called data, but it is now available in a form that can be loaded into various programs and applications to process it further. So important thing is you collect data, you make it machine readable, and then make it into then run applications and processes that enable it to be processed further. Okay, so first is data. Second is the ability to process data. Okay, after processing, the data takes the form of information. What is information? Information is nothing but processed data. Okay, and it can be, information can be visualized. You cannot visualize data. Data is nothing but zeros and ones. So however good you are, it won't make sense to you if I present you a string of zeros and ones, right? Whereas information can be understood. So because it can be visualized and understood by human beings to take decisions and solve problems. So but information, if that can solve all the problems, then why do we need the other layers? Okay, that is the critical question. So while data is unrefined, as I said, information is refined and can be analyzed and used for business purpose. However, available information is simply too vast to be fully processed and filtered as we experience daily. For example, if you search something in Google, for example, if you have to buy something and you search it in Google, you will get probably 500 pages worth of information on that. Like if you want to buy a laptop or want to know something about some particular thing in a laptop, then there is too much information available. Okay, it is meaningless to you. You do not know which one is the right one for you. So that is why information alone is may be meaningless in certain contexts. So by extracting useful information and peeling out the redundant information, we derive knowledge, which is the third layer, which can be put to use for business problem solving. Knowledge means that you have filtered out the redundant information. So from data, you create information. From information, you create knowledge, and knowledge is what you put to use for business problem solving. These are important concepts. They are easy to remember, but they are still important. Okay, so business, now everything is not. So once you have knowledge, what else do you need? Okay, now this is where the critical confluence comes in between man and machine. Okay, because everything is not technology driven, even in the digital world. Everybody can create knowledge. That is not a problem because everybody can gather data, process it to create information, and extract knowledge from that information. Now, how do you create differentiation? Because everything is not technology driven, even in the digital world. So, unique human ability. I had talked about this in the context of skills, and it's also valid in the context of data management. Unique human ability to apply insight, experience, and let's say judgment. Okay, leads to wisdom. So wisdom, and it is wisdom that eventually creates market differentiation. How do you become a company that is different from your competitor? It is through wisdom, not by data, information, and knowledge alone, but by applying wisdom. So that is why there are these four distinct layers that you will come across in your life. Whenever you talk about data management, it is always spoken to in the context or in the backdrop of these four layers: data, information, knowledge, and wisdom. And so are the skills, which that is why I had shown skills also in similar four layers, which can be mapped to this. Okay, so this is the sort of beauty of a data driven environment. It relies on technology and analytics, but is also equally dependent on human ability. Okay, without this wisdom apart, or without this human ability, the whole world would be a world of automatons and robots. Okay, it is that human ability which enables us as human beings to stay one step ahead of the machines that we created. Okay, so that is important. And just to sort of recap, the true differentiation therefore comes not just from collecting data, but using it as a business asset by extracting information. Just to bring talk about the four layers: by extracting information from data, okay, converting information to knowledge, and applying human wisdom to achieve a successful transformation. Right. So in your project, you may mention how you are using market or field data to achieve insights that lead to better management of customer experience, employee morale, business growth, or whatever your project is about. But you can apply this. It is a very simple tool to apply if you keep it on your back of your mind, because you cannot simply use data. You have to convert data into and achieve at least knowledge and wisdom before you can apply it in the context of business problem solving. So this is important to remember from the aspect, as I said, of your project, as well as from the future aspect of your careers and long professional journeys. Now, the last building block that we spoke about are customers and market. There's nothing very new here that we have not yet talked about. We discussed the various modes of customer engagement for digital enterprises. Now, I'm sure you're all quite familiar with these modes, and I'm not going to talk about that again, especially B2B and B2C. These are the commonest type of engagement modes for digital enterprises, and I expect that your project will be focused on these modes. I mean, that's my advice to you. When you build your project, don't try to build a complex model which is around B2B2C or C2C or some untested model. Okay, B2B and B2C are the commonest. If you want to do it, I leave it up to you. But I'm just saying that it will be more sort of complex for you to do that. It's entirely up to you. So customer engagement. So once you have created customers, either using B2B or B2C, the next step is to engage with those customers, which is the key to long-term competitive advantage, as it is the primary driver for of customer loyalty, which is the end game of the enterprise. And hence, once you achieve customer loyalty, you achieve market leadership through positive references. In fact, it is much better than any kind of an advertising campaign. Now, customer experience management systems, as we spoke about, are becoming critical. If you remember, we had spoken at length about customer experience management and the various stages of the customer life cycle. And just I would re-emphasize that these customer experience management systems are critical in a growing number of enterprises today in some form or the other. Okay, and because they help you to track each interaction through the customer life cycle, not just service, not after sales service alone or warranty support, but throughout the customer life cycle. Okay, and digital technologies, as I just mentioned, like big data, have effectively helped enterprises to deliver personalized support, which is what customers like you and me look for. There are many techniques like big data, voice of customers, customer experience management, and so many other methods, but they are all aimed at achieving only one outcome, and that is increased customer engagement, because increased customer engagement leads to loyalty, long-term loyalty. So in your project as well, it would be great to see some tactics to achieve improved customer engagement through all the stages of the customer life cycle. All, when I say, you may not use all of them in every project, but I would definitely expect that you keep in your backdrop at what stage of the customer experience management cycle or customer life cycle you are applying any particular any particular, how shall I say, mode or choice of customer experience. Okay, that for example in the acquire, activate, service, upsell, retain, grow, any customer is always at one of these stages of the life cycle, and basically a good customer experience strategy is focused on ensuring happiness, loyalty, or customer satisfaction at all these stages, not just at one of the stages. That's what my point is. So your project should basically reflect that you are focused on the whole cycle. Okay, so that is essentially what I meant. So these are the six building blocks. I just thought I will quickly recap, so that because you can use these building blocks to build your project. Now just a quick word on the project presentation, a simple set of bullet points which I just noted down. So first step is pick a digital transformation scenario of your choice. I leave it to you entirely. I gave some options last time, and they are again repeated in the last slide. Okay, so pick a DX scenario of your choice. If you are confused about it, as I said, you are always free to run it with me. You can send me an email that this is the topic I'm choosing. Is it right? I will be able to tell you yes or no, or offer any other guidance that you may require. Then start with defining a clear mission for your project, as we discussed. Define the as is state. What was the state of the enterprise or unit or institution or college, school, startup, or whatever you choose before the digital transformation? That is, what was the state of these building blocks prior to the start of the transformation project? That is the third bullet. Then make assumptions. You can make any assumptions, but just mention those assumptions, it would be good. So it is up to you what you state. Then state what you must transform to achieve. The keyword here is what. So now you have an as is state, you have a mission, okay, that you want to convert from this state into some other state. So what must you transform to convert from the as is state to the desired state? So based on this list, decide the key strategic objectives. When I say decide the key strategic objectives, I don't mean the whole phrase or the complete action plan, but just the topic that do you need to change the customer experience? Do you need to change your business model? Do you need to change your technology? Do you need to change your processes? What is it that you need to change in order to achieve your final state? Do not choose more than 5 KSOs. I've written here. Depending on the KSOs that you have selected, define the goal. In fact, last slide I had given it was not exactly a template, but a sort of an overview of the different things that you must consider in a digital transformation. You can refer to that. I have posted that presentation on the Google Classroom. So depending on the KSOs that you have selected, define the goal for each KSOs and the end state or the to be state. What do you expect the company to become after the transformation? Okay, identify the opportunities for innovation. This is the most important thing. This is why I need you to show your understanding and innovative thinking. So for each KSO, for example, technology KSO or any other KSO that you choose, customer experience or whatever, identify what are the opportunities for innovation. In the previous slide that I just talked about, not previous slide of this slide, but from the last presentation in the template slide, there are some examples given of what are the opportunities for innovation, for typical opportunities for innovation against each KSO. But you can also think through your own, applying your own innovation to work out new opportunities for innovation. What are the opportunities for innovation that you have picked from the uh, as is state that you need to go from the as is state to the to be state for each case? Give reasons in brief for picking each case. Or for example, on the technology objective, if one of your opportunities for innovation is, let's say, adoption of cloud computing or cloud model, then you have to give a line, one line or two lines to say why you think cloud computing will help to achieve the transformation from a old state to the new state. It is simple, actually, nothing difficult. I don't know if it sounds complicated, but trust me, once you get down to do it, it is not. Okay. Then use not more than 3 PowerPoint slides, and hopefully not more than 8 minutes to 10 minutes. You plan for 8 minutes. Okay. But so that in each class session that we are having like this, we could run about 5, so that we could finish these sessions over the next 2 or 3 weeks. Okay, so do not use more than 3 PPT slides for the above presentation. I hope this gives you a good guideline in terms of what exactly is expected in the project. And I'm again saying, at any point in time, use the email and send me a mail at the IIT Goa mail ID if you have any questions at any time. Okay, this is
Okay.
just a repeat of,
Yeah.
sorry, yeah,
And so next class onwards, we will have presentation. And
yeah.
as Ashish mentioned, maybe a group of 2 or at most 3 can do this project together. and about 25% marks of overall 100 marks for the course will be on this project. Okay. All right. So maybe 25% I'm considering now. Maybe it can go to 30%. So please take time, understand what has been taught, go through slide sets again, and do good job. Okay, and who will tell me about the order in which students will give the presentation? So next class we will have at least 4 presentations, 10 minutes each, so or maybe 5. Uh, let's start with 4 in the next class, and one of you will tell me who are, the list of or a schedule in which you guys will give this presentation. So maybe Muskan, can you do this? I don't see many.
Sure, sir.
Okay, so please collect information, people, and then
Ravi, I suggest we do it on Friday as well as Monday. Some people can do on Friday, some can do on
yeah,
Monday.
yeah, yeah. So now onwards, whatever slots are left out,
Yeah.
will go on towards this, right? So next class is on Friday, the following Monday, then Friday, and so on. We
Yeah,
have
or if the students feel maybe we can start from Monday, Friday is too soon because there are
no,
only
no, no,
3 days.
no. That's fine, Ashish. I
Okay.
think otherwise we'll have to. So they have 5 days. I don't think they will spend more than that. So we
Yeah.
start from this Friday, and then we'll go for next.
This is, by the way, an excellent opportunity. Trust me, right now it may be sounding like an overhead, but if you do this, you will find yourself much better positioned than most of your peers when you go for to join some company. I can assure you of that, having spent 35, 38 years in the industry. I know it. So this is something that you should love doing. It should be, you should do it as a passion. Okay, as I have, this is just a repeat of the slide that I had used last in my last class also. These are just some examples I've given. Please, as I'm saying again and again, do not restrict yourself. You can come up with any great idea. I'm sure you can come up with excellent ideas. I'll just give you an example since we have 5 minutes or a few minutes. There's a lady who has an apartment somewhere. I think I told this example earlier. If not, then pardon me if I've already explained. Who has an apartment near where I stay. Now, this area is still under development and it is far from Delhi. She herself stays in Delhi. Now, now she found one thing that most of the people, especially the rich people in Delhi, women as well as men, that they have heavy dresses which you only wear once or twice in a year, like the very heavy suits or saris or the very heavy dresses. And there is a lot of space that they consume in terms of storing them in the house because most of the space is required by the day-to-day wear things. So these heavy dresses are actually taking up space which is expensive and short in supply. So what this lady did, she converted her apartment here, okay, into a storage facility for heavy suits. She applies some disinfectant. She even provides, she has tied up with some dry cleaning services to even dry clean those things. And she hangs them in some nice plastic covering and things like that. She has a portal. You can go and register. She will deliver and pick up the clothes from your house. And suppose you have an event, let's say you have to go to a marriage party tomorrow. You can tell her today and she will get the clothes delivered. Then she has a very innovative idea she had, and she is doing it so well, and far more than the rent she would have got. Rent maybe she would have got 25,000 rupees a month. This way she's earning more than a lakh a month. Okay, so this is an innovative idea, and she's using it through a mobile application, doing it through a mobile application. She has all the constituents like what we discussed, partners and technology and every aspect. And so there can be such innovative ideas. I'm sure if this lady could have it, a lot of you could also have some very good ideas, or apply these ideas to some existing shop or experience that you may have had in your life. Okay, that hey, if this was more digital, it would have made my life so much simpler. Sometimes I'm sure you have come across situations where you wish that somebody is writing painfully in a register and you patiently wait there in a queue. So you might be thinking in your mind, hey, why don't these guys go digital and enable me to do this through the mobile? Or for example, right now this whole vaccination drive is going on. You can pick up that theme. How do you digitize this entire process of registering for vaccination up to getting vaccinated? So there are lots of examples. And these are just, as I said, pure samples only. You do not need to restrict yourself to these. You can pick up anything on your own.
See,
Now,
another good idea could be, emergency response, like COVID kind of situation.
yeah,
Everyone was caught unaware, even including companies. how do you handle that in such a situation happens in future, right? So
Correct.
just creating a software or some solution where even government could be a partner in that.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
there are a lot of ideas. In fact, on the right of here, I've also included some of the key strategic objectives. That KSO term that you would have come across in this presentation. We used it many times. These are some of the more common KSOs. KSOs means what is it that you have to transform in order to achieve your mission. Okay. Now you can choose any five of these, or you can choose something which is not listed here also. But KSO is what you have to change. Do you have to change your market strategy? Do you have to change your business model or build a new business model? Do you have to change your monetization? How do you charge customers for the service that you provide? Anything can be changed. So typically pick four or at maximum five cases, not more than that. Okay, when you make your presentation, you can choose out of that. So basically you should include a mission and vision. You should choose a KSO or a key strategic objective. You should choose your opportunities for innovation against each KSO and give reasons for that. So broadly speaking, that is it. But the more imagination and innovation you use, the more marks and points you will get. Okay, instead of just repeating the same stuff that is found in these lectures or anywhere on Google or in some books, I would like you to use your own imagination and innovation, because ultimately that is what creates differentiation.
And if you
Okay.
hit upon good idea, maybe you can start your startup.
Yeah, exactly, that is the whole point here, that you have all the knowledge now. Trust me, this is all that you need. In fact, people have created startups with much less knowledge than you have now. Okay, so you can definitely start your startup. You
And
have
this,
yeah.
yeah, this is the right time also, right? You don't have any risk, right? I mean, in the sense that you are at such a age that you can take any risk of the world, and you have parents to support you, right? So you can go ahead and start your company based on a good idea, and then works out. It's fantastic. Otherwise, you during the process you get another good idea. That's how startups start another startup and so on.
Exactly. In fact, a lot of people, once they get into jobs and 9 to 5 jobs, and even if you do get an idea, there's always a reluctance to leave the job and start a startup. Very few people are able to do it. So this is a good time actually. But think about it. That's not something. But all I can say is that you have all the means. I'm sure you all have the knowledge, the wisdom, the intellect, and now you also have the information and the subject knowledge to be able to do what you choose in your life in terms of startup or jobs or careers, or but use it well. That is the key. Use whatever you know, whatever we have spent time on, use it well for your own good. Okay, so that's where I think we should end now, and wish you all the best for your presentations. And if you have any questions, please email me. All right.
All right, thank you, thanks Ashish,
Thank
and
you.
thanks folks.
Thank you.
And Muskan, please send me a list of maybe 4 or 5 presentation we'll have next week.
Yeah, so sure.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you.